of our ailments stem from inflammation. Our first guest has been studying amino acid metabolism in the context of nutrition and aging, and he's developed a natural anti-inflammatory supplement. Please welcome Dr. Joel Brind. And Dr. Brind, tell me a little bit about your background and how you got into this.
Oh, great. First, thanks very much for having me on. My background is as basically a bench scientist for many years and a professor of human biology and endocrinology for 34 years at the City University of New York. I have a PhD, not an MD, and I'm a basic research scientist, and that's what my degree is in. Basic medical science, biochemistry, physiology, and immunology. And this product is really the fruit of my research in those areas over the years. Some very important discoveries, which led to this. And I came upon glycine, which is the amino acid that's in the supplement that I sell. It's mainly a glycine supplement, because that's where my research on amino acids led me. I was working on another amino acid called methionine, which is very essential and the body really needs it, and ended up on this glycine, which is considered non-essential. And one of the discoveries is that glycine is not non-essential. It's actually an essential amino acid. But what we found out during COVID, didn't we, is that the word non-essential is toxic. You call something non-essential, like somebody's job, and they're out of business. Right. So who's going to spend money researching something that's non-essential? Well, a number of people around the world in various places. Mainly people have been working on it in North Carolina and in Michigan. People have come across the fact that glycine is not only an amino acid, that's one of the building blocks of protein, but this particular amino acid has other uses which are very important in the body. And one of them is to stabilize the cell membrane of the immune cells that are called macrophages, the cells that actually cause inflammation. And the trouble is that we're deficient. Almost everybody is deficient in this amino acid. And again, it's not really recognized because it's considered non-essential. But it turns out to be. Yes, go ahead.
Is it something that we lose as we age, or is it something that we're deficient in from the get-go?
Well, that's interesting. You get more deficient as you age. It is usually things that are called non-efficient, non-essential are those things which the body can make from simpler ingredients. And it can make glycine, and it does make glycine all the time, but as you age, it makes less. Also, the diet is very important in that the diet does not provide enough. So the typical diet provides maybe 2 or 3 grams a day of glycine, and you need about 10 grams a day to have a healthy immune system, in addition to being able to make enough proteins. And the cause of most diseases, most of the things that make people sick and die these days, is that they suffer from inflammation, and glycine is the body's main natural way of regulating it. So the big discovery, I would say the most important, really unique discovery that occurred to me, and this was about 14 years ago, is that inflammation is actually misunderstood by medical science. Doctors do not know what causes the kind of inflammation that becomes chronic and that is responsible for most of the diseases that ail us. And the reason is that the definition of inflammation is that it is the body's first response to infection or injury. Mm-hmm. That's a half-truth. That's the main discovery. It is only the body's first response against infection, not infection or injury, but only infection. If you don't have an infection, why is your body first responding by trying to throw poisons at and trying to kill a microbe that isn't there? So you might liken it is the first response of the immune system. So you might liken it to the first responders in our society's immune system. So let's say there's an accident on the freeway. Who comes around? The police come around, right? The highway patrol, the police, and they come around and they call the ambulances and the tow trucks, and they take accident reports, and they redirect traffic and so on. But then when they're done, they pack up and get into their patrol cars. They go back to their base, and everything goes back to normal. Except one thing is that these guys are armed, right? All the while they're carrying armed guns, they're carrying loaded guns in their holsters, but they would never think of using them unless bad actors are present. The same is true of your immune system. You see these macrophages that cause inflammation. In most normal situations, they don't cause inflammation, at least they're not supposed to. So they clean up the mess, and they go into what you might call clean up the mess mode. In the research community, they call it the M2 mode, where they're just sort of cleaning up dead cells and cell debris and allowing tissue repair to then take place. But if they cause inflammation, that means they start secreting poisons designed to kill bugs. And if the bugs aren't there, or if they're secreting more poison than is necessary, what happens? They just damage normal tissue. So this function of inflammation is still believed to be normal. Just like they think glycine is a non-essential amino acid, they think that inflammation in response to injury is normal and natural. It is not. It only damages normal tissue. And this was quite a startling discovery that happened to me, as I say, about 14 years ago.
Where did you get the idea?
Well, as I say, back in the day when we were working with amino acids, we were working with the essential amino acid methionine. And the group I was working with had actually discovered that if you keep methionine concentration low, almost deficient in methionine, the lab animals, rats and mice, actually lived 30 or 40% longer. So they call this phenomenon methionine restriction, and you can find it in the aging literature. And so I was looking for a way to mimic methionine restriction. How do you maybe get methionine out of the body more rapidly? Because what happens is we have a very, very rich diet these days, very rich, for example, in animal proteins. You have your bacon and eggs for breakfast, and your tuna fish sandwich for lunch, and your steak or chicken dinner day in and day out. This is a very, very, very protein rich diet. So we get lots of all the amino acids, including glycine and methionine, but mostly an excess of methionine. And it turns out, this is also generally not known, that after you have a high methionine meal, after you have that cheeseburger, your liver, instead of conserving that amino acid, is actually busy getting rid of as much as it can. So it turns out, as other people had researched, that the amino acid glycine is key in getting rid of excess methionine. So, and I knew it was harmless, very safe, natural food and all of that. So I started self-experimenting back in 2007, 2008 with taking 10 grams of glycine every day to see what happened. And so that was, I got the idea, not knowing what would happen. But then what gave me the real aha moments, if you will, was that certain things did not happen, which I had fully expected to happen. I had a fall in 2010. These both happened in 2010. I had a fall 4 feet onto a concrete floor, right onto my tailbone. And it really hurt for about 30 seconds. And I finally managed to finish what I was doing. And my wife and I went out dancing that night, and it didn't seem to bother me much. And the next morning, I felt absolutely normal.
That's unheard of as we age. Normally you fall and it takes you down for a while.
Yeah, that's right. And then within a few weeks of that, I actually attended a ball game in June in the hot sun, and not a cloud in the sky, no obstructions, no shade. And I didn't have a hat on, and I had my t-shirt and my shorts on. And I was enjoying a ball game in the new Yankee Stadium. And then about the fifth inning, I started to feel a little warm around my thighs. And I looked down and realized that I hadn't done this to myself since I was probably in my teens, that I was really like a boiled lobster, all red, sunburned. And I knew, I was 100% certain that I would be in excruciating pain just doing normal things like bathing, dressing, undressing for the next several days. And what happened is, as soon as I got in the shade, it just started to go away. And it did go away. And then I put two and two together because I had also had research experience in the dermatology department at NYU some years back where I did my graduate work. I knew about inflammation in the skin and how sunburn causes inflammation, and realized that between the fall, the blunt injury, and the sunburn, both of which causing massive cell injury and death, but not with any microbe present, were not producing inflammation. And that's what I fully expected that they would. And this was all because I was taking glycine. And then the work of others had really established what it does to these immune cells, how it is the trigger lock, if you will. Glycine is like the trigger lock that stops these macrophages of the immune system from actually initiating inflammation.
Joel, hold it right there. We're going to take a quick break and come back and find out more about the supplement that you invented and more about it. We'll be right back after this.